versioning to the open source set of FHIR tools for TypeScript.
Yes.
Gabriel, you can take it away. I will wave with you with my hand, showing you how many minutes you have left. Is that okay?
Yeah, how many there's left? Okay.
Let's get started.
Okay, hi, I'm Gabriel. Good morning. I'm working at Medical Informatics at Bern University of Applied Sciences in Switzerland. And since a few weeks, I'm also a member of the board of HL7 Affiliate Switzerland. So, yeah. Can you hear me?
Well, there's a lot of noise.
A lot. Yeah, it's.
This guy knows more about it.
This one. Okay.
You're a gravel rider?
All kind of bikes. This week I'm just like the Dutch bikes. Okay, I think we're ready again. Yeah. So let's talk about our tools. It's a small set of libraries that we publish on Node Package Manager, so it can be easily included in pretty everything that uses TypeScript or JavaScript. So what was the motivation to do this? Of course, in the first place, it was the goal to make our own life easier. We didn't want to have repetitive task of implementing basic stuff every time again. And the second motivation is to support our students in working with FHIR. So if they want to implement a web app, for example, in a project with FHIR, so they can use the libraries and don't have to mess with the technical stuff and just can focus on the FHIR implementations. But of course, since it's open source, everyone who wants can use it and can contribute. I'm not a lawyer, but I think with the Apache 2 license, it's pretty straightforward and easy to go. So the libraries are split up in different packages to ensure flexibility. We have like this base package that does types of FHIR resources and data types and offers some util functions. And then top of this, we have one library that handles the communication with the server, the authentication, and all this stuff. And I think the most important and interesting of all is the FHIR questionnaire handler that I'm going to focus in this presentation on. And on top of that, we have some then more specialized libraries, like, for example, a renderer for Quasar framework that does the rendering for the questionnaire library, and then on top of that, we have the apps that can consume it, like, for example, a patient-reported measure, outcome measure app on Quasar that uses the communication stuff for server communication and the renderer and the questionnaire library for handling the questionnaire. Or another example for our tech stack is with React Native. There we don't use the rendering pre-made packages, but have, for example, quite nice app for mental self-assessment and suicide prevention that we did with a psychiatric clinic in Switzerland, and much more. So the base, as I said, it offers interfaces for TypeScript for the resources and data types in FHIR, so you can have typed stuff in your IDE. It offers some smart resources as classes, like a bundle where you can add the other resources and it handles all for you, and some simple methods for communication and utils, like important in Switzerland, support for the translation extension, where you just can throw a key value pair with translations on it, and it generates the extension for using in various fields of the resource. It's quite useful if you live in a country with 4 official languages. We have stuff like parsing human name into disk-based strings. It's not rocket science all, but very nice if you don't have to do it every time again. So then the communication package wraps the API methods from the base package in something easier to handle, does also the OAuth stuff, and since it's plain JavaScript, it works with everything. Like Vue, we have it working with Vue apps, Angular apps, Node, plain JS. So the questionnaire handler is, as I think, the most interesting of all the libraries. It's not a questionnaire renderer, but offers a data model for questionnaire. You throw a FHIR questionnaire on it, and it builds the data model, links the depending questions, supports filling in from previous questionnaire response, supports calculated expressions, initial expressions, internationalization, of course. That's a peek view on the interface of the question element that we have. It offers basically everything that you need to render it in your system that you're using it. And of course, in the end, if we filled the questionnaire, we can generate the questionnaire response from it. So, as I said, it offers everything that you need for rendering. That's also one constraint that we have. We do not offer direct rendering. That's intentional because we want it to be platform agnostic, and if we implement it on React Native, the rendering works very different than if you do a web app that is based on HTML. As I already shortly mentioned, a coworker of mine implemented for the Quasar framework a renderer library, but I will show you in a minute that it's really not that hard to implement it yourself. And also, since this whole thing is a bit of a side project, we're not covering yet the complete specification. It's like we try to offer a good base, and then, like all the extensions, we implement as we go. And of course, if you need something that there's not yet, feel free to contribute, or if you don't see yourself able to do, you can open an issue, and we have tried to do our best to support you. This is just like a small matrix of what's implemented. So the general stuff is implemented for every type, and then the more advanced, like calculated expression, doesn't make sense for every question type, for example, but is not supported in all. So instead of talking, I would like to show you a little demonstration, and I think we have plenty of time left to hack up a small demonstration application. Some of you may know the UpGar scoring system. I have prepared a questionnaire for this. It's like a system for assessing the vitality of newborn children. You can do it at 1 minute, 5 minutes, and maybe 10 minutes after birth. There are 5 questions. Every question gives scores with 0 to 2 points, and then in the end you can sum it up and have the UpGar score for summing up the vitality of your newborn. And it's a perfect small example for something like this. And we are starting with, yes, this is the, oh no, it's not displaying on the other screen. I probably have to end the presentation.
Presenter mode fun?
Yeah, yes, okay. I tried it yesterday evening and it worked then. No, okay, so here you have the questionnaire for the UpGar. It's like just 6 items. The first item is the score at 1 minute, 5 minutes, 10 minutes, and the actual scorings. It's just choice questions with 3 answer options, and then in the end, to make it a bit interesting, we have a hidden question that does calculated expression, and with a FHIR path expression just sums up the values from the other questions in the end and calculates the score. And here I prepared a small demonstration template for Vue. So those of you who are not familiar, yes, it's too small. Somebody aware of the hotkey for increasing text size in Visual Studio Code? Control plus? Command plus. Okay.
That worked.
Thanks. Okay, for those who are not familiar with Vue.js, we have on the top the template, which is just how it's rendered in HTML, and below we have the JavaScript logic. So we see here we have the QData, that's the questionnaire data object we load in the questionnaire that we imported above and set the working language, in this case English, and we have a placeholder for the questionnaire response. And in the window on the side, we have like the oh no, okay. Like the web app that updates, live updates. And since now the questions is just a list of questions, we can use the v4 directive that renders a list item for every question that we have in the QData get questions array. So if we get the label in oh no, it's not. I've prepared it with like the undo redo stuff, and now I just entered something and it throw everything up. So I have to improvise a bit. So now we see we have already rendered the labels for the questions, and now every of the questions is a choice question. So we have a list of answer options for every question. So we're going to do the same again for the answer options. And we already have something that looks like a questionnaire. It doesn't work yet like a questionnaire. If I select something, you see we can have multiple radio options. That's because it's not linked yet with the data model. So if I add a click handler on the question and do here the update the question answer if you click on an answer, and like this. Yeah, now it works, and of course we don't just want to enter the data, so we have to have a button that calls the evaluate method that I defined below, and this just calls the QData get questionnaire response in the working language, set it to the response, or catches any error if there is something and throws it up as a pop-up. And we see here now it can't generate the questionnaire response because some mandatory questions are not answered. So it would be nice to have this displayed to the user, and if we can do this quite simply by adding a dynamic class to the question by setting the invalid class for the question if this invalid property is true. So we see here the invalid questions that are not answered turn red, and if we update them, it all gets fine. And now if we evaluate, everything works, but it's not displayed at the moment, but because we don't have the questionnaire response display to the user. So I add a final div in the bottom that renders out the response we see is JSON, and we could now do like render items for everything that we want, but we can of course also be lazy and just use the narrative. And I have to clear the internal stuff of the div. VHTML just takes the HTML that is in the narrative and puts it inside of the div. So if we do this, we have a user-friendly display of the questionnaire response, and we also see the last question with the calculated score. If we update something, the answers are changed and the score is updated as well. And this is just a small peek view at what we can do. We could do a lot more if we had more time, but we don't. So I think I switch back to the presentation, and yeah, I'm happy to answer any questions.
Questions? Yeah. Vadim.
Hey, really nice set of libraries, thank you. I had a question about the debugging experience while you were building that questionnaire form live.
Yeah.
Can you inspect which variables can you use and etc. if something's not working right? Like exploring the data structures and etc. as you're writing the form.
Yes, I mean, the debugging is not really dependent on our library, but on the framework that you're using. For example, I used just Vue, and there are like it's like a very good plugin for Chrome and for Firefox for Vue that you can use, also for Angular, or I think basically everything, I guess, and it works with that. Yeah. Yes, in the end.
Thanks. Having built tools like this before, how did you solve the calculated expression could be a function of another calculated expression thing?
We just used the I think it's FHIR.js library that does the FHIR path evaluation, and I'm not exactly sure how I solved it because it was like 2 years ago. But I think we just generate the questionnaire response and then do the FHIR path evaluation on that and update it like that. Did that answer your question?
I don't think so.
No, what I mean is you might have a calculated expression whose answer is based on another item
and that
also has a calculated expression. So you have to like, we had to do this crazy stuff. We had to figure out the order to do the calculated expressions because there's like a dependency tree. It's a kind of a nightmare. And if your library handled it, I would definitely use it.
I don't think we had this use case yet, and I guess it probably don't work. I haven't tried it, but...
Did I see a hand there? Yes.
Thank you very much for your work. How hard is it to add a dependency between questions? So for example, if the question to answer to question 1 is A, skip question 3. Or even something more complex, like if the patient is male, skip all the questions related to pregnancy. Is it possible to add those logics? Yeah, you have to add it in the questionnaire. So you probably have like if you have like the pregnancy questions, I probably would have it as a sub item as a question, and then as sub items the pregnancy questions, and the parent item then is like only activated if the patient is male, something like that. And if it's implemented in the questionnaire, it should work in the library also. So the logic is completely in the questionnaire.
Is there a limit of sub-item deep?
Not by the architecture, so it's implemented like reciprocals, but of course there is always a technical limit. So but the limit is like probably JavaScript or your RAM and not our library.
And there, okay. Let's keep on walking.
Do you support sub-items for multi-select questions? Because for us it's quite a challenge in implementing that.
I'm not sure. I have to look it up. You can write me a message on Hua or email.
Hello, thank you for your presentation. I have a follow-up question to the one where hiding questions based on other answers of other questions. And you said the logic was implemented in your library. So you have, when you had the example, you looked for the items in the questionnaire, but there are functions that only give back the questions that are actually should be displayed.
We have here, if you see, I think it's the is enabled flag, and of course you have to implement this in your front end and only display the questions that actually should be displayed. There is like the extension for in Questionnaire is like an extension that can make an item hidden. So that's what I used for the last item in the UpGuard questionnaire. So these are always hidden. But those that you can toggle on and off by logic, there are if you don't implement it, they're always shown. So you have to hide them in your front end, of course.
Great. All right, we're at time. So thank you again, Gabriel, for your presentation, and time for coffee.